the Eldritch, just randomly skipped across time, achieving a rough form of time travel.
Time travel, a phenomenon that still proves to be elusive to human grasp till date, has led some scientists to totally debunk the possibility. But could they be wrong? This video explores different real-life instances of time travel, from people winding up in a parallel universe to time-traveling doomsday avengers. Join us as we explore 10 bizarre photos of people that seem to have manipulated the space-time continuum.
Teleportation involved with the Philadelphia experiment, that it had actually warped space-time itself.
Number 10. Trading tips from 2256. On January 28, 2003, U.S. federal agents arrested 44-year-old Andrew Carlssin. He was accused of SEC violations after his unconventional investment strategy involved a specific and intentional selection of 126 high-risk volatile stocks, investing $800 in total and witnessing the value skyrocket to an astonishing $350 million in just 2 weeks. Unsurprisingly, this unprecedented success led authorities to suspect fraud, and they assumed Carlssin possessed some sort of insider trading information. However, instead of a confession and agreement to the charges filed against him, Carlssin surprised everyone with a different explanation during his custody. He claimed to be a time traveler from 2256. According to his narrative, he knew which stocks would rise and fall. During his time in custody, Carlssin made extraordinary claims, offering information that could benefit humanity. He claimed that he possessed knowledge that would be the cure for the incurable AIDS, disclosed the accurate whereabouts of the national fugitive Osama Bin Laden, and even predicted the United States of America's invasion of Iraq. Despite these bold assertions, investigators remained skeptical, dismissing his statements as those of either a pathological liar or a lunatic. In an attempt to verify Carlssin's background, investigators deeply searched his past, only to find a mysterious absence of records a couple of months before his arrest. His birthplace, parents, and residence were all unknown, rendering him an elusive ghost without tangible existence. This cascade of discoveries left a serious question in the minds of every spectator and listener who saw this story unfold or heard it. Was Carlssin a skilled fraudster or a genuine time traveler? We'll leave that one for you to figure out. Number 9. It's just a mobile phone. Today, almost everyone stares at a portable screen they carry with them everywhere and all the time, the mobile phones. And although screens were very much around in the early 90s, they lacked color and were not yet very small and portable. Or were they? Well, this woman might just be proof that they were around. At the premiere of Charlie Chaplin's 1928 film, The Circus, at Mann Chinese Theater in Hollywood. Among the attendees was an older woman dressed in a coat and hat. What makes this moment so striking is the object she holds up to her face, strikingly similar to a modern-day mobile phone. The woman appears to be using a mobile phone before its time, and not just that. She appears to also be deeply engaged in a conversation, showing gestures and behavior while talking on the phone, eerily familiar to what we see today during phone conversations. She even appears to pause, mid-sentence, as if engrossed in her apparent chat. Who is she talking to when there's no one around within earshot except a man walking ahead at the start of the shot? Whether she's a genuine time traveler, a part of some top-secret experiment, or a blatant misinterpretation of the moving picture, we'll leave you to knock yourselves out with that one. Number 8. John Titor's machine. 23 years ago, just 4 years after the internet was made public, an individual introducing himself as John Titor shared a message on the forums of the Time Travel Institute, an online platform committed to the investigation and exploration of temporal sciences. And just like that, the time-traveling celebrity of this generation was born. He claimed to have been dispatched to Rochester from 2036 to 1975 on a very important and classified mission. John Titor was tasked with the retrieval of a very crucial machine, the IBM 5100, a device holding the key to averting a fragmented America, a nuke exchange between Russia and the US, numerous casualties of war, and a computer bug that would send our dear planet into oblivion, what he called a very dark future. In this riveting narrative that sounds straight out of a science fiction saga, Titor emerges as an unexpected hero riding in his trusty 1987 Chevrolet with an installed time machine, bravely traversing the fabric of the space-time continuum to correct the twists of history. Using his 1987 Chevrolet military-built time machine, he allegedly made his trips back and forth the space-time continuum. He described the time travel experience as driving under a rainbow. Titor engaged with the online community for 5 months, answering questions on a conspiracy forum about the future, time travel, and his life. He made predictions that some found eerily accurate. After a 6-month odyssey, he later returned to his own time in the year 2000. His last advice for mankind was plainly, "Bring a gas can with you when the car dies on the side of the road," and then signed off forever on March 24, 2001, returning home after a supposed successful mission. Is it safe to say John Titor was a time traveler? Even after months of engagement with his community of believers and critics, the question remains, was John Titor a genuine time traveler? For all we know, humans have a very wild and active imagination, and this man could have been a master of storytelling while also employing his imagination to weave these astonishing stories. Whatever the case, the prospect of time travel becoming a reality raises intriguing questions. What scientific obstacles must be overcome to achieve such a feat? If someone were to journey back in time, what ripple effects could it create in our familiar world? Answers to these questions remain elusive, teasing us with the unknown. Number 7. The Man from Tord. They say life is but a big play and we are all actors. However, in July 1954, on a scorching summer day, one actor seemed to be on the wrong set. A businessman arrived at Haneda Airport in Tokyo, resembling any ordinary traveler. However, his presence led to an extraordinary situation. When authorities inspected his passport, they discovered he hailed from Taurid, a non-existent country. Despite possessing seemingly legitimate documents and even pointing out Taurid on a map, the Japanese authorities identified the location as the Principality of Andorra. The man vehemently insisted on Taurid's existence for over 1,000 years, creating a perplexing scenario. Following an uncertain interrogation, Japanese authorities decided to confine the man to a local hotel, securing his room several floors above with no balcony. Despite the stringent security measures, the man mysteriously vanished overnight, sparking the legend known as the Man from Taurid. This tale has evolved into one of the most well-known urban legends about alternate or parallel universes, captivating the interest of conspiracy theorists, social media users, and storytellers alike. However, some sources rebut the idea of interdimensional travel, saying the incident was part of the man's elaborate scam. They identified him as Zigrus and mentioned that he had a history of cashing in forged checks. They mentioned that he created the story to throw the airport authorities off his trail, but this backfired as he was arrested and detained. Not much was heard about him after his arrest, so the stories of him vanishing were strewn across the internet. While both accounts may be true, the reality of parallel universes remains largely unknown. Number 6. The Erratic Chrononaut. Von Helton is a man of bodacious and mind-boggling claims. His claims have transgressed from just existing in past times, but also seeped into technological ingenuity, where he claimed to have invented the stealth fighter at the age of 7 and supernatural encounters, which spurred him on to become a vigilante fighting evil vampires. As expected from a man of such pedigree to make unexpected claims, he records one of the most audacious claims of time travel escapades. Formerly known as Eugene Hilton Jr., Helton presents a series of photos from different eras, claiming they depict his various lives. While some find the resemblance uncanny, others argue that these images are likely the result of skilled photo manipulation. The first of the images he presents is a black and white photo from 1857, taken in a studio reminiscent of the 19th century Victorian era in England, where he stands tall, captured in an ancient studio portrait. Next up on the collage was another black and white photo taken during the tumultuous times of World War I, precisely 1916 in France. Von Helton was dressed in military regalia as he posed to prove his presence as a witness amidst the chaos of history. Then comes the last photo, which he claims was shot in Berlin during the end of the Second World War in 1945, this time also donning military regalia. It is important to note that he did not age a single bit in all 3 photos, and this incites speculations of supernatural descent. Fast forward to today, Von Helton seems to have left the turmoil of his past and embraced a more jovial approach to life, as his current online presence includes a YouTube channel where he sings karaoke, raising doubts about his credibility as a time traveler. Could Von Helton truly be a master of time and space? Or does his vampire gene offer the key to his seemingly immortal existence? We will leave you to be Sherlock Holmes. Figure that out for yourselves. Number 5. Now he sees it, now he doesn't. It's unbelievable to fathom the idea of time travel, and this claim is often met with great scrutiny and disbelief when someone says they are from the future or went to the past. But if they were a veteran pilot, one might consider the possibility. Veteran Royal Air Force member Victor Goddard claimed to have experienced visions and time discrepancies on an official assignment to investigate an abandoned airfield while flying from Edinburgh to Andover. While he was flying over an abandoned and dilapidated airfield near Drem in Scotland, he encountered a strange storm. He managed to make it out of the weather disturbance, and what he saw as he emerged was nothing short of a jaw-dropping miracle. As he emerged from the storm, he was still over Drem airfield. Still, the airfield was intact and not in its normal dilapidated state. It looked completely different, with people in uniforms working on the airfield. The derelict hangars appeared brand new, and 4 planes on the ground were painted in a color not used by the RAF in 1935. Among them, one was unfamiliar, and there was a monoplane, which wasn't in the inventory of the Royal Air Force back then, and even the mechanics wore different uniforms. Almost immediately after this glitch, the storm came back. By the time he weaseled out of it, he was flying over Andover, leaving him with unanswered questions. Goddard's puzzling experience has sparked discussions about the possibility of time travel or glimpsing a parallel universe. Number 4. The Philadelphia Experiment. The infamous Philadelphia Experiment, a top-secret naval experiment from 1943, resulted in a ship briefly disappearing and reappearing. On October 28, 1943, something incredible and mysterious occurred aboard the USS Eldridge. The ship was engaged in top-secret experiments to gain a strategic advantage against the Axis powers during World War II. The experiments were believed to involve a technology capable of making the ship invisible to enemy radar. This innovation could change the course of the war. Reports of an eerie green-blue glow enveloped the ship's hull, while its generators hummed with energy were documented. Then, astonishingly, the USS Eldridge vanished into thin air. Eyewitness reports claimed that the ship reappeared at the Norfolk Naval Shipyard in Virginia before vanishing and reappearing back in Philadelphia. This unexplainable event left people dumbfounded, erasing the doubt of teleportation and time travel for most people. The Naval History and Heritage Command's Archives branch has repeatedly debunked the story, stressing that the USS Eldridge was never in Philadelphia between August 1943 and December 1943. Still, they confirmed the actual events on the ship, stating they were attempts at degaussing. It involved using special devices that scrambled ships' magnetic signatures to protect against magnetic torpedoes, not render them invisible to the human eye, radar, or underwater listening devices. The reported green glow could be attributed to an electric storm or St. Elmo's fire, a weather phenomenon creating plasma in an electric field. While the reports from the Naval History and Heritage Command's Archives branch fail to state when and where these degaussing experiments took place, the opinions on the case have been split into 2. While some doubting Toms are still unwavering in their belief that the event was some high-level illusion or carefully spun conspiracy theories, we will leave you to have your own choice. Number 3. The 1940s Hipster. In a seemingly ordinary picture captured in 1941 at the South Fork Bridge in Montreal, Canada, this 82-year-old photo depicts a peculiar figure standing out among the crowd. A young man in his 30s can be seen wearing a modern-looking hoodie, a graphic-printed t-shirt, and sunglasses, holding a camera that resembles technology from the 1990s. Was this man a time traveler from the future who journeyed back to the 1940s for unknown reasons? This puzzling photo leaves us pondering the possibility of humans possessing the ability to voyage through time. What makes it possible that the person could be a time traveler? Firstly, his attire is very out of place for the 1940s, featuring fashion elements from what would be conceived as the distant future back then. Secondly, his futuristic eyewear adds to the mystery, as such an accessory would be considered a bold fashion statement and was most likely unheard of during that era. The camera he held was also not very much around at the time of this event. Companies such as Kodak mention that they started the production of handheld cameras around this time, possessing one for personal use in 1940, which was very much ahead of its time. All these, put together, gave the man striking similarities to models from the 1990s. Intriguingly, nobody in the photograph seems to recognize his unusual appearance. Despite extensive research, historical records do not identify the man, leaving us wondering if he managed to travel through time unnoticed. Number 2. Deja vu in Hamburg Shipyard. In 1932, reporter J. Bernard Hutton and photographer Joachim Brandt, working for a German newspaper, were unexpectedly involved in a perplexing and terrifying event at the Hamburg shipyards. Sent to cover a local story, they were startled by the droning sound of aircraft overhead. As Hutton and Brandt looked up, they saw an overwhelming number of British RAF bombers releasing bombs that caused explosions around them. Despite the chaos, the two men managed to run towards the shipyard gates in hopes of safety. They took a series of rapid-fire photos documenting the astonishing event. Upon returning to the newspaper offices and sharing their experience, they were met with disbelief from co-workers and the editor. Subsequent investigations revealed that there was no bombing of the Hamburg shipyards, and no RAF planes were reported in the area on that day. In response to the contradictory information from both men, they were promptly fired. Fast forward to Monday, July 25, 1943, when Hutton stumbled upon a large newspaper headline and an even more significant front-page photo in London. The story detailed the British RAF's massive attack on Hamburg, precisely mirroring what Hutton and Brandt had witnessed in 1932. The shocking revelation raised questions about whether the duo experienced a time slip into the future or shared an exceptionally vivid premonition of the impending events. The bombing of Hamburg, known as Operation Gomorrah, occurred in 1943 and is considered by some as a war crime. The bizarre and unexplained connection between the events in 1932 and 1943 adds a layer of mystery to the story, leaving the true nature of Hutton and Brandt's experience open to speculation and debate. Number 1. The Moberly-Jourdain Incident. They claim that strolling through Paris teaches lessons in history, beauty, and the essence of life. For British teachers Charlotte Ann Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain, this proved more than symbolic when they claimed to have taken a walk back in time while loitering in the Palace of Versailles. Roaming around the Petit Trianon, a small castle on the grounds, the friends reported witnessing individuals clad in 18th century attire and structures that had long vanished from the norms of the present era. One even claimed to have seen Marie Antoinette, the last queen of monarch France, sketching on the grass. Their account, documented in the 1911 book An Adventure, has sparked skepticism, with some suggesting shared imagination or an encounter with a costumed event under the influence of alcohol or any other common intoxicant. While the latter seems more logical, the sheer possibility of a time slip to pre-revolutionary France could be a hot lead in the fog that surrounds the possibility of time travel. And that brings us to the end of the video. Well, there you have it. While these incidents might not have been 100% foolproof evidence of the mysterious phenomenon of time travel, we hope it incites and sparks some thought and conversation. Feel free to let us know what you think in the comments section. Don't forget to like this video and give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. See you in the next video.